Hello, my name is Neve. Welcome to School Talk. I am a speech and language therapist with Evelina London Children and Young People's Community Speech and Language Therapy team. Today, we are going to be looking at reading comprehensions in today's School Talk video. And reading comprehensions is our theme of the month, so watch out for other videos that will also be looking at this theme. Today's video will be targeting those who are in Key Stage 2 and 3. We have many other videos catering for different age groups, so please have a look through our page if there is something else that you're looking for. As always, we'll be sharing a tip of the week and also following a visual timetable that I've made here. We use visual timetables to break down the activity and the expectations and structure of what we're going to be doing in the video, but also a really nice thing to use at home to let your child know what you're doing over the course of the day and to support with their understanding of what's coming next. The activity in today's video is going to be looking at a method called the QUACK method, and it's there to support your child with reading comprehensions, making sense of some of those trickier reading passages that might be cropping up in school, sent home for homework, and kind of some of that more factual information and how we can draw the answers out and answer some of those questions. So let's get started. So we have done our hello, so I've just crossed out our hello, we've done our introductions, and next we have our tip of the week. So our tip of the week this week is very in line with our theme of reading comprehensions, and it's a little reminder of the importance of reading and to encourage you to read at home and throughout the day. We know reading is really important for literacy development, for language development, and also a really nice opportunity of joint interaction with your child. So it's a little reminder to read throughout the day, read when you're out and about, incorporate it into your daily routines. It may seem obvious, but it's really crucial in supporting your child with their learning and with their kind of overall communication development. So that is our tip of the week this week. I'm going to cross that out and we can move on to our activity. So as I previously mentioned, our activity this week is looking at a method called the QUACK method. And the QUACK method is something that your child or student or a child you're supporting can apply to a reading passage, a narrative piece that they're reading. We all know that reading sometimes can be boring for children. It can be difficult for them to engage and focus on it. So with this strategy, it has them constantly making note of words and pieces of the narrative as they're reading it, which supports that engagement, supports that focus, and hopefully by the time they get to the end of the reading passage, they have been more engaged and focused to be able to answer those following questions. Reading comprehensions is something that we see kind of embedded in the curriculum at school, but also it's a really important skill for your child to have. It pulls on kind of their ability to read, to recall information, to understand information that they have just read. So if a child has difficulties in any of these areas, they can find reading comprehensions really tricky. So hopefully this activity that we're going to be using today will support your child or child that you're supporting. For the purpose of the video, I've made this little resource so that we can go through each step of the approach. However, you can feel free to make something like this at home if you feel your child would benefit from it. You can make it on a little piece of card, just like I am, revisit it, bring it back out when you might be doing a reading comprehension for homework. Also in the school setting, making a resource like this, having it laminated or close to a child's desk, so when you are doing some of those activities that might be relevant for this approach, you can pull it back out and use it as reference. So as you can see, I have quite literally just put the word QUACK and each letter in the word QUACK down on the side of my page. I've also used a nice little visual of a duck. Again, that's something that we know can spark interest and motivation, get children a little bit more engaged. If you're using a silly or a funny word and a visual that they can kind of relate it to or can support their understanding of it, all of these things will help with their engagement and overall kind of application of the method to work that they might be doing in school. So let's get started. So first we have Q. So our Q in QUACK is referring to and stands for question marks. So question marks, what we're asking our child to do, and as we can support them in reading their passage, is to put little question marks beside words or concepts that they may not be familiar with, that they do not understand, and that they would like some support with understanding the meaning. So I'm going to pop that down on my resource. That our Q stands for question marks. And again, making this visual at home is just a prompt that if they forget any element of the method, that they can refer back to and be supported with. So our Q is our question marks. Next we have U, and U stands for to underline. So what we are looking for our child or student to do is to underline any definitions or any explanations of a word or a concept in the text that we might need to make note of. What's important to note with this method is it works best on a factual reading passage. So we see a lot of these in some of the trickier subjects such as science or maths when they're explaining a concept or a rule. And this works best when you can apply it to something like this. It also might be seen in a history passage, and lots of those reading comprehensions that children might be sent home with to do for homework or might be done in class includes lots of factual information, which can often be quite overwhelming and confusing for a child to kind of really draw out what the answers are when you get to the comprehension questions at the end. So our U is for underline. And we are underlining any of those definitions that we might see in the reading passage. So we put question marks over anything we don't understand. We're underlining any of the definitions that have been mentioned. And now we are down to A. A stands for asterisk. So asterisk is going to be put, as seen here, a little asterisk is going to be put along the reading passage where you might see an interesting idea or information that you want to take note of. So our asterisk is something interesting that we might need to draw back on and kind of pull out of the text for some of those questions that we get at the end of our narrative piece. So we've got question marks for the things that we're not sure about, underlining for those definitions, and asterisks for any of those interesting ideas. Next, in our QUACK, we have C, and C stands for circle. So we are asking for our child or student to circle any examples of the definitions or information that we feel is important to take note of. So they're going to be drawing a circle around that information and making note of it. Examples of something is often a very popular question to be asked at the end of reading comprehensions. Give 2 examples of something, or can you give an example of? So this can be a really obvious way to really pull out that information that otherwise could be quite tricky to retract out of a reading passage. So we've got our question marks, we're underlining those definitions, we're putting an asterisk beside some of those interesting ideas, and we're circling those examples. And lastly, in our QUACK, we have K, and K stands for keywords. So we may have some keywords, they may be in bold sometimes in reading comprehensions to support a child to identify them, but any of those keywords that they might identify, we're going to put a little K beside them. So we're going to put a little K beside them, and that way we can identify those keywords. It also can be a really nice way to kind of extract some of those keywords and make a note of them and make a note of their definition. So we're building that vocabulary for a child and some of those keywords that might be surrounding a concept in maths or in science or in history that we might see crop up again in other narrative pieces that we want to remember. So hopefully at this point you might have quite a busy text passage that you have made some notes on. However, as your child gets more familiar with the method and as they know what each letter stands for, it can be a real support when they go to those questions at the end where they've been asked for definitions, they've been asked for examples, that they can go back and directly draw them out of the text. So this is what our QUACK method would look like. And as I said, this can be a really nice key of what each one means and what each one stands for, that we can pull out again at a later time, pull out the resource, reuse it, have it in class so that you can refer back to it, and the child in some of those kind of earlier days of using the approach and they're just familiarising themselves with the words, it can be really useful to have it there. Bear in mind as well, they might need quite a lot of adult support at the start of this. You might be making notes initially, they might do some also. So it's a learning process, but hopefully as they get more familiar with it, it can be really, really useful in teasing apart some of those trickier reading comprehensions where they're looking for very specific information from a factual piece and where we can support our child to answer them. So that's our activity. We have our lovely resource that we can use again. Hopefully if you're creating the resource with me at home, you've been able to make something up quite similar to this. You might have got more creative with your doc visuals, more creative with your kind of initial letters and what they're standing for. You can make it quite unique and individualized to what you think might be getting your child's attention. Get them involved in making the resource and start introducing that QUACK method and when they can use it. So that's our activity for the day. We are going to now check out our visual timetable. So our activity has finished. And next we're on to our summary and goodbye. So I hope the activity and the information that we've shared in this video has been useful. Hopefully you've pulled something that you think might work well with your child or student, or you've taken the approach all together. If there's any teachers watching, this can also be quite nice as a whole class approach to really kind of apply it to any reading passage that you're doing that might be on a factual piece, and really start to kind of embed it so they can be supported with the questions at the end and with overall reading comprehensions. If you have any questions, please check out our website. We have an FAQ section and lots of information shared on that. So please check that out. And otherwise, we will see you again for our next School Talk video. This video here will be saved, so please feel free to revisit it at a later date, or if you need some clarification on any of the letters and information shared. And thank you for joining. Bye.